Welcome back, everybody, as we roll into hour two of our 3-hour tour here on the Tom Sumner program. Life is complicated, change is tough, but achieving balance and personal goals needn't be the ever-elusive holy grail. So says entrepreneur Matt DeCoursey. He has a new book called Balance Me, A Realist's Guide to a Successful Life, and he joins me now by phone. Matt, welcome to the show. Hello, Matt.
Call disconnected.
Well, it looks like we lost our connection with Matt. I'll just go on to say in his professional life, prior to becoming a full-time entrepreneur, he traveled up to 180 days a year. He ended up leaving that job to pursue a more balanced, rewarding life. Over the years that followed, while fully engaged in building businesses, he discovered ways to take on the workload of several people and still manage to have a fulfilling family life. He joins me now by phone. Matt, welcome to the show.
Good morning, Tom.
There you go. Sorry we lost you there. I was just
no problem.
I just introduced that you had a new book, and that you say that achieving balance and personal goals needn't be the ever elusive holy grail. And without going into a whole Monty Python routine, what are we talking about there?
Well, first off, thanks for having me on, and good morning, Flint, Michigan. My book, titled Balance Me, is available for sale now, and the topic it's technically a book about learning how to get what you want out of life through finding balance within your personal, professional, and physical life. So the topic life balance, or work-life balance, as some people call it, it's a pretty hot topic lately, and everyone's kind of searching for it, and no one seems to have it. So basically in my book, well, first off, let me say something. Nobody's life is ever really in balance. It's the act of striving for it that, keeps us, sane and keeps us, working towards our worthy goals. The realization that a healthy mix of effort in our personal, professional, and physical life is really what, in my opinion, drives a lot of us towards finding the success and things that we want out of life.
But what you talk about in the book is different than time management. It even gets into how you might go about being more successful in business, which allows you to free up more time for a life, as they say.
Yeah, that's correct. There are some time management aspects involved. It's, being someone that, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm the CEO and founder of Gigabook, and I've always done a lot of different things. So, I had to write a lot of the book from my own perspective. In the book, also, realizing this, I also went to try and find other successful and accomplished people in life. I've got an Olympic gold medalist, a rock star, a founder of a large franchise chain, and the former head of fashion at Esquire magazine, all making comments in there as well. So try to find a healthy balance within my book about balance.
So many people look for how to make a lot of money. Is money the goal, or is what you do to get it important?
I've had a lot of people ask me that, and everyone's idea of success is going to be different. Everyone's balance and everyone's ideal balance is going to be different. In regards to whether or not making money is, the goal, well, it might be some people's goals and it might not be others. But, if asked about ways to make more money, I'd say you got to quit thinking about money. You got to focus on the process of whatever it is that you do that produces income in your life. If you get to be the best at what you do, money is a byproduct of that. So, money at the same time is also a huge stress for a lot of people, and it causes a lot of anxiety. So in many ways, becoming a better professional can actually produce a lot more balance in your life by removing that anxiety, the money worries and the things that come with that.
There's something you touch on that I wanted to bring up, because a lot of people think, and you mentioned you talk to a rock star in the book, and there's a lot of people who think success is being in the right place at the right time. How is that a myth, as you've described it?
I think it's 100% a myth. That I don't really believe in luck, and being in the right place at the right time is, in many ways, defining luck. I view luck as preparation and opportunity crossing paths. So, I like to say success demands payment in advance, but you have to pay your dues up front. There's really no way around it, and I think a lot of people, we have a very microwave culture, and everyone wants things instantly. They want to be rich or successful or happy, and they want it all instantly. And there's a lot more to it than that. So, as far as, just being in the right place at the right time, that's not really something that's just going to, you look at people that are successful, like example, the rock star. These guys have put in tens of thousands of hours of practice and travel and commitment, and then they happen to be at the right place at the right time. So that's the preparation and opportunity, meeting an intersection. So, that has, in my opinion, I think that's really an example of success demanding payment in advance.
The 10-year overnight success.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
No, but I know what you mean.
Another thing on that too is we also like to look at people that are successful and we say, you know what, he's got a lot of talent. Well, and that might be the case, but it's this repetition and this drive, and I believe there's a very fine line between good and great, and that's that. You look at anybody that's successful, whether it be in sports, life, parenting, or whatever, and you're going to usually find the people that are really putting the most effort and attention into that as well. Would you agree?
Absolutely, and I like that you said there's a fine line between good and great. And we've got, actually, Matt, we've got a break coming up here in about a minute, but I want to talk some more about that, what it takes to cross that fine line between good and great, and what the impacts of those are. I also want to talk about compulsive social media use. I'm probably guilty as most about that, and so that's one that we should talk about. But like I said, we've got to take a break, let our broadcast partners squeeze a few words in edgewise. Matt, if you'll stick around for a few minutes, we'll have a little bit more time to talk after the break.
I'd love to, thanks.
Great. My guest is Matt DeCoursey. He has a new book, Balance Me, A Realist's Guide to a Successful Life, and we'll find out more about that right after this.
The Tom Sumner Program. Old-fashioned radio for a new generation.
Good morning. Here's just a sampling of the fun and exciting events going on around Flint and Genesee County this week, courtesy of the Flint and Genesee Convention and Visitors Bureau. Tonight at 7, tomorrow at 2 and 7, the New McCree Theater presents Detroit 67. Enjoy this powerful play that unfolds an explosive moment in history, the race riots that ravaged the city of Detroit in 1967, set to a vibrant soundtrack of the music of the day. The New McCree Theater is located at 2040 West Carpenter Road in Flint. More info at thenewmccreetheater.com or at 810-787-2200. The Flint Community Players present Curious Savage at the Tom B. Nobles Performance Hall. Performances tonight and tomorrow at 7:30 and Sunday at 2:30. A recent widow was hustled into an institution by her stepchildren who are angry she hasn't shared her multi-million-dollar inheritance with them. The Flint Community Players at Tom B. Nobles Performance Hall is located at 2462 South Ballinger Highway in Flint. More info at flintcommunityplayers.com or at 810-441-9302. the Fenton Village Players present A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum at the Fenton Village Playhouse. Performances begin tonight and tomorrow at 7 and Sunday at 2. This musical tells the body story of a slave named Pseudolus and his attempts to win his freedom by helping his young master woo the girl next door. The Fenton Village Playhouse is located at 14197 Torrey Road in Fenton. More info at fentontheater.org or at 810-750-7700. Clio Cast and Crew present Kings of Unionville at Theater 57. Performances tonight and tomorrow at 7:30 and Sunday at 2:30. The action takes place in a tacky wood-paneled basement in the small town of Unionville, Michigan, where the group meets to drink beer, play euchre, exchange insults and worn-out jokes, and drink more beer. The members, all descendants of the original kings who founded the society about 150 years ago, are more akin to court jesters than royalty, although they try to retain some small shred of the dignity their ancestors brought to the original club. Theater 57 is located at 2220 West Vienna Road in Clio. More info at cliocastandcrew.com or by phone at 810-687-2588. The Greater Flint Arts Council, located at 816 South Saginaw Street in Flint, open 10 to 5 today. The GFAC programs and services are designed to engage the community in creative processes and support the work of Michigan artists. Join the GFAC this month as they celebrate with their African American Artists of Michigan exhibit. Admission is free. More information available at greaterflintsartscouncil.org or at 810-238-ARTS. Flint Institute of Arts, located at 1120 East Kersley Street in Flint, open today noon to 5, tomorrow 10 to 5, and Sunday 1 to 5. Visit FIA and browse their outstanding collections of American, European, Native American, African, and Asian art. Currently on display, Women of a New Tribe. This exhibition presents the spiritual and physical beauty of selected African American women in the Flint community, photographed by artist Jerry Talafero. Reaction, the art of social commentary. This exhibition explores how artists have addressed political, social, and civil rights issues through art, from World War I to the AIDS epidemic of the 1980s. And the art of jade. This exhibit explores the history of jade cultures as well as the functional, stylistic, and technical developments of jade as an artist medium throughout time. More info at flintarts.org or by phone at 810-234-1695. Art of the Market Gallery at the Flint Farmers Market tomorrow from 8 until 5, located at the Flint Farmers Market. Enjoy browsing and purchasing at this unique art gallery, showcasing original artwork from over 30 local artists. More info at artatthemarket.com or at 810-238-9202. As always, we thank the Flint and Genesee Convention and Visitors Bureau for providing us with this list each week. You can get the full list every Monday morning during the 9 o'clock hour on the Tom Sumner program or anytime online at flintandgenesee.org. Flint Firebirds Hockey is your gateway to the National Hockey League. Take in the action of professional hockey and witness the future stars of the NHL. This Friday night, your Flint Firebirds will be taking on the Sudbury Wolves. Then on Saturday, they'll be facing off against the Oshawa Generals. Game time for both is at 7 o'clock at the Dordt Federal Credit Union Event Center. More information is available at flintfirebirds.com or by phone at 810-744-0580.
The Tom Sumner Program. Old-fashioned radio for a new generation.
Hi, this is Greg Nagy, and you're listening to the Tom Sumner Program.
Stream us live weekdays at 9 Eastern at TomSumnerProgram.com. Made possible by listeners like you.
The Tom Sumner Program. Old-fashioned radio for a new generation.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're talking with entrepreneur and author Matt DeCoursey. Matt, welcome back.
Thank you, Tom.
Just before the break, we were talking about the fine line between good and great. And I mentioned social media. I'm not sure if you intend those two things to be connected, but compulsive social media use, how much does that help or hurt in the effort to cross that line from good to great?
Well, some of that might depend on what you're doing. If you're using social media to help advance goals or parts of your life that are beneficial, then go for it. The problem is we oftentimes find ourselves, the average person's spending hours a day on social media. So, in Balance Me, one of the things that I point out, finding success and making change can be simple and straightforward. And I use this concept that I refer to as replacement. And you start with taking a 30-minute block of something that has a relatively low value, an activity, and you try replacing it with something that moves you towards a goal or perhaps helps you find that balance you're looking for in life. So the difference between good and great could be spending 30 less minutes on Facebook and Twitter and instead doing something that gets you towards the goal that you're seeking.
When you're talking about seeking goals and putting in extra effort, how difficult is it to know what it is that you want to do? Is necessity the mother of invention?
Well, I think that deep down inside we all know what we want to do. We just don't necessarily know how to do it.
Is it a matter of not trusting it? Is it a matter of not trusting it? Like for the rock star, for example, there are so many people that pick up an instrument that never even make a decent living. When I was doing I call them conversations in my book rather than interviews, because I just sat down and I tried to get to the bottom of, is my approach to success and life balance the same as other people that were achieving on a somewhat high or high level? And I found that it was. The thing that really surprised me is I don't think that most of the folks that none of the people that I talked to had any kind of self-doubt. Like, actually, a couple of them looked at me a little crooked when I asked the question, did you ever have a point where you just didn't think it was going to happen? And it was like it was an afterthought. And, that kind of gets to the fact that, what do we need to do to achieve? Well, we first have to maybe consider that we might be part of our own problem. And, we have this, people oftentimes have this very blamey way about them. It's always someone else's fault that this, and this occurred. And sometimes, yes, that is the case. But, a lot of times we just need to get ourselves out of the way. And, in regards to achievement, we also have a tendency to look at our goals as being one singular task. Like, say you want to buy a house. Yes, that can be a goal, but there are a whole lot of other things that need to occur on the way to this master goal. So, if you're going to eat an elephant, you do it one bite at a time. And the same thing goes for achievement and success. I've heard people describe it as keep going no matter what. Sure. Some of the things that, some of the words and things that people will say when it comes to achievement are, getting what you want, are words like dedication, drive, ambition, obsession, diligence, self-discipline, and, practice. And, those all kind of mean the same thing. Now, if my goal is to grow wings and fly off the top of a mountain, I don't know if I should keep moving forward with trying to achieve that goal. And that's why, I use the term realist a lot. Like, if our goals are within an acceptable range of achievement, there's really not much we can't do. You just have to figure out the steps and the processes of getting there. And that's like that example I gave earlier of taking a goal and you break it into a bunch of little goals, and it's a lot more palatable. It's a lot easier for our mind to accept the fact that we need to do this smaller task rather than a big one. Now, for you, in your experience, you went from basically starting with as close to nothing as you can get and ended up generating $29 million in revenue. What were what did the steps look like? What did you consider? What were the first victories like? They were, in many ways, things started. Okay, so in 2009, I started a business in the extra bedroom of my home with nothing but a credit card with an $8,000 limit on it, and 9 years later, it's
turned into all these different things. And, that's part of what made me write the book is people kept asking me, they say, how do you getting all this stuff done? And, it was really like I defined is, taking these big tasks and breaking them into little goals. And then, you talk about, you're asking, where's the victories and the achievements? Well, every time you accomplish one of those little steps. Now, as far as those milestones went, I mean, looking back at it, some of them might have even passed by and you don't even realize it because you're focusing on that process is what matters. And the money how it comes with it after, or, maybe it's something you're working on that isn't related to money and it'll come after. But it was really just focusing on the process. So as far as the milestones went, it went kind of slowly for a while. And then the one big thing I remember was the moment that I fully believed that I could do great things, it was like the clouds parted and the skies opened up, and just, that's why I like to say, get yourself out of the way. It's like I started believing that I could do it, and next thing I knew, I was doing it.
But again, you mentioned earlier, just be great at what you do. Be the best at what you be the best you can be at what you do, and the money will come. But that's for a lot of people, it doesn't happen that way. And you talk about getting yourself out of the way, and I want to see if we can't parse out what putting yourself in the way looks like, so people know how to get out of the way. For example, and I used the example of musicians starting out, and they may get together, a band, they might write some good songs, they might have some people buying some things online, but it never really turns into a living. They might be great at what they do, but they aren't able to capitalize on it. And the example you used, if you're going to try to eat an elephant, you do it one bite at a time. But after that first bite, you look at that elephant, not very much is gone, and you think, I'm never going to be able to eat this whole elephant. How do you change that mindset?
Okay, so I saw on your website that you too are a musician. What instrument do you play, Tom?
Drums, so I'm not really a musician.
I'll save the drummer jokes. I have a history in music myself, so yeah, we can tell musician jokes after the show.
That sounds good.
So let me ask you a question. The first time you sat down at a drum set, were you any good?
No.
Okay. Did that So that example right there, the best drummer in the world was horrible the first time he tried. And it goes, you're never good at anything right away. That's at least not things that are really worth doing. So, that's your first, you just accept it. You're not going to be great at things right away. And you talk about that difference between good and great. Well, talk to these people that are masterful at what they do, and it comes down to practice, repetition, dedication. So, when we say we're not getting where we want in life, we have to look back and say, if we want it that bad, are we willing to pay the price that we need to pay to get there? And it does require that payment in advance. It's like, you don't just, I'm sure there's a few people out there that, if we're talking about music, you've seen them, they're better, a lot faster than everyone else. And, that they might have a talent for it, but they still have to practice. So, that first acceptance of that, like if you're starting a business, you're not going to be a great business person right away unless maybe if you have a lifetime of practice as a business person. So you just have to kind of take the things that you need to do and continually assess what the next step is for you. So if you have something that you're really weak at and it's important, you need to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah, I've talked to best-selling writers who, have 30 or 40, New York Times best-selling books out there, And it's always a little fuzzy. They're happy to talk about the days when they were writing and getting rejection letters, but that part where it goes from that to everybody returns their calls seems like this like they jumped over the Grand Canyon, and you never really seem to be able to zero in on the steps that went from rejection to acceptance.
Well, at some point, all those guys, so you have this decision, and I refer to it as this coin toss moment. And this is, and this can apply to anything in life. It's just literally that moment where you say, I'm just going to flip a coin. Heads, I'll keep doing this. Tails, I quit. So it's a lot easier to quit than it is to, persevere and keep pushing forward. So, those guys all had that moment, and they kept going forward. And eventually, the rejection letters keep coming, and they, they just feel it. Like you have this. It's like with me for business and entrepreneurship. When I was about 4 years old, I knew I was going to own my own business, and so therefore the tough moments that I've had, and being an entrepreneur is like riding a roller coaster. People say, "Oh, you own a business. You must be lucky and rich." I don't feel lucky on that week that I have to put in 90 hours, and then,
Sure.
When you wake up at 3 a.m. just worried about your cash flow or paying your bills or something else, I don't feel lucky then either. But those are the times when you learn to adjust and do what you need to do to focus on the process and keep moving everything forward in your life. The thing I try to focus on is, can I be a better version of myself today than I was yesterday? If you play that game with yourself, you're not going to win every day. But it prevents you from taking these long declines into what a lot of people will say is a rut. So you just kind of try to get a little bit better every day. And if you can manage to do that, you're going to be in a pretty good place in a hurry.
A friend of mine, a fellow musician, years ago when we were first starting out, had a saying: "You're only as good as your worst performance."
Sure.
And it was a way of motivating himself to always be maintaining a certain level of achievement or competency or however you want to describe it. But there's a talking point on something I was reading about the book Balance Me that talks about working with gifts and flaws. How can you work with flaws?
I have this belief that your strengths and your weaknesses hold hands and walk down the street together. So
Yeah.
I'll give you an example.
That makes sense to me.
Personality. Yeah, it's true. So you learn how to use all right, me personally, I'm gregarious. I'll talk a lot.
No.
And that can really benefit me in a lot of situations, and it can be a drawback in others. So I gravitate towards the things that fit me well, like the things
Sure.
that, and you try to, okay, I would be a horrible librarian. So if I'm trying to pursue, a master's in librarianism or whatever that's called, it would probably not be the right fit for me. Doesn't mean I couldn't do it, but I don't know if it'd be the right thing. So when you talk about working with the gifts and flaws, you just have, I accept that part about myself, and I try. My wife's going to listen to this interview and roll her eyes because talking about me being quiet for too long might be a myth in her opinion. But at the same time, it's like you gravitate towards the things that you're strong at, and when I was a kid, they told me I had ADD. I wouldn't give it back. It enables me to do a whole lot of different things. I learned how to put lightning in the bottle, and I'm ready to use it when I need it. So some people would say that's a flaw. I think it's a gift. It gives me an incredibly high sense of drive. So, it's just that understanding and acknowledgement that, you're walking down, the strength is walking with the weakness. So just learn how to use one and, tone down the other.
I was really impressed with that notion of walking side by side, gifts and flaws, because they do make you who you are. And
correct.
The biggest concern, and I like the analogy about not being a good librarian, and that wouldn't be a good fit for you, because it brings up this idea of fit. And it took me a very long time to find something that I really believe inside and out is a good fit for me. And I'm not. I don't know that I could articulate how I got there. Can you?
That's a great question. I mean, for me, okay, so I refer to there's something in Balance Me that I talk about. It's the right time myth.
Right.
It's never the right time, folks. We let that be our top excuse. It's not the right time for me to do this. It's not the right time for me to do that. Guess what? The right time is never coming. At some point, you made a jump or a leap. I sometimes say sometimes you have to jump and then build wings. The thing is you just need to make sure you have the material to build the wings before you leave the cliff. So, I think with a lot of us, when we made a transition to I used to work for, big companies, and I had great jobs, and I loved the people that I work with, but I was never happy because I wasn't doing what I wanted to do and what I felt that I needed to do. The moment that I started doing that, I felt it was really an antidote for a lot of the stress and anxiety that I mentioned earlier that comes with being a business owner or an entrepreneur. So, as far as that leap, sometimes I don't know, I quit a great job and just said, I'm going into business for myself. It was at the worst time possible. So, it worked out. I look back at a lot of that and I say, how did that happen? But it did, and I think it's just because, if you really want to do something and you feel justified in your course of action, and you're not a quitter, you're going to probably get there.
I think there are a lot of examples of people, Matt, like you, like me, who were doing something that was gainful, and we were probably good at it and not entirely happy. And then there comes this point where you have to do an assessment, a self-assessment, and decide it's time to flip that coin, to make that leap of faith. What's the best way for someone to decide when it's time to do that assessment and look for their cliff?
All the time. I like to say that if you want to make change in your life, it's a tough process. And, now you've evaluated, my part of my own problem. But the thing is to make lasting and effective change, you have to be in this constant state of evaluation. And that's the thing that I, with Balance Me, that I really try to impress on people is, there's a science to this, and, it's not just something that you're going to say, okay, I'm going to try real hard for a month, and then I'll get everything that I want. It's like, it's a constant. And, it's like that example I gave of trying to be a better version of yourself,
Right.
Can you do that? And you're asking, when is the right time to take the leap? Well, you got to kind of just, when does it feel right? And, you be prepared. Don't just go quit your job right now because you want to pursue your dream and you haven't done any planning around it. But, much like it, set your goal and start figuring out all the things that need to occur to get there. And that's a pretty good assessment right there. You might say, hey, if I want to start a business, I need to save $10,000, and you've got $500. It's not the right time. So, it's really just evaluation and planning, and you got to be honest with yourself along the way. And that's why I always get back to the term of, realist. Operate in reality. I'm an eternal optimist, but at the same time, I'm very much a realist. You have to, just because you want it to go well doesn't mean it will. You still need to be prepared and have a proper plan.
My guest is Matt DeCoursey. He is an entrepreneur and now the author of a book, Balance Me, A Realist's Guide to a Successful Life. Matt, I always want to give readers a chance to find out where they can learn more about what we've been talking about. Obviously, the book is a great place to start, but do you have a website?
I do. It's Matt, MattDec.com.
And there are probably links to where they can get the book and other things, other projects that you have going on as well.
Yeah, the book is available. You can find it on Amazon. It's you can just go to Amazon and type in "Balance Me" and you'll find the book. It's available in paperback. It's available for Kindle. You can find it at Barnes & Noble. You can find it a lot of different places. It's also available on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have a subscription with that, go ahead and put it in your library today, even if you don't read it right away. And, as far as my website goes, it has some more information about myself and some of the other stuff that I do.
Great. Well, Matt, thanks so much for spending time with us and sharing your thoughts and wisdom.
I appreciate you having me on, Tom.
All right. Take care.
Thank you.
That was Matt DeCoursey, author of Balance Me, A Realist's Guide to a Successful Life. Comedy coming up next, and then live music in the third hour.
The Tom Sumner Program. Old-fashioned radio for a new generation.